On a warm Sunday evening in June 2015, the quaint Swedish town of Hö would become the epicenter of a case that would grip the entire nation. As the sun began to set, 17-year-old Lisa Holm sent what would be her final text message to her father. "I'm leaving work now." It was 6:23 p.m. 3 minutes later, her father's phone rang, but the call that followed would haunt him forever. Lisa was everything you'd expect from an ambitious Swedish teenager. Born on February 7, 1998, she had dreams that stretched far beyond the peaceful confines of her hometown. She planned to study architecture in Australia, traveled extensively with her parents, and possessed a fierce independence that drove her to work part-time jobs since her early teens. Dark-haired and always wearing a warm smile, Lisa was known for her determination and positive spirit. That summer had marked a significant milestone in Lisa's life. She'd secured her first serious job at a cafe, a 40-minute drive from home. The position represented more than just income. It was a step toward the independence she craved. When her father gifted her a scooter, she was still too young for a car license, Lisa's face had lit up with joy. It was her ticket to freedom. For weeks, her protective father had accompanied her on her journeys to and from work, teaching her the safest routes and proper road awareness. June 7th marked her first solo commute. Earlier that day, her parents had visited her at the bustling cafe for lunch, watching proudly as their daughter efficiently served customers. None of them could have known it would be their final meal together. The 6:26 p.m. phone call would later become crucial evidence. When Lisa's father answered, instead of his daughter's voice, he heard only background noise, muffled voices, and the distinctive sound of a car door slamming shut. He called out Lisa's name repeatedly, but received no response. Assuming it was an accidental dial, he hung up, expecting his daughter to arrive home shortly. As minutes stretched into hours, parental concern evolved into raw panic. Her phone went dark. Every call went straight to voicemail. Her father retraced what should have been her route home, driving slowly, his eyes scanning every ditch and curve, dreading the sight of an accident. What he found instead was far more disturbing. Outside the now closed cafe, Lisa's scooter stood alone in the deepening twilight. The keys were still in the ignition, her helmet hanging from the handlebar, a scene that screamed that something was terribly wrong. It would become the first piece of evidence in Sweden's largest missing person search operation, one that would reveal a truth more horrifying than anyone in the peaceful town of Hö could have imagined. The discovery of Lisa's abandoned scooter set off a chain of events that would shake Sweden to its core. Her father, standing in the empty parking lot, felt his world collapse as he dialed 112, Sweden's emergency number. His voice trembled as he reported his daughter missing, a father's instinct telling him this wasn't a simple case of a teenager running late. The local police initially approached the case with measured concern, but several red flags immediately caught their attention. First, Lisa was known for her reliability. She always informed her parents of any change in plans. Second, the positioning of her belongings. The scooter keys left carelessly in the ignition was completely out of character for the responsible teenager. Third, and most troubling, was the timing of that final phone call. Those 3 minutes between her text message and the mysterious call with background noises. Within hours of the report, the sleepy town of Hö transformed into a hub of police activity. Officers began methodically piecing together Lisa's final known movements. Security footage from the cafe showed her completing her shift normally, cleaning tables, and serving customers until closing time. Nothing seemed amiss in her behavior. No signs of distress, no unusual interactions with customers or colleagues. The investigation quickly expanded beyond the cafe's immediate vicinity. Police dogs were brought in, picking up Lisa's scent from her helmet. The canine unit's behavior troubled the handlers. The dogs showed agitation and tracked a path that led away from the cafe toward a nearby wooded area, but the trail seemed to end abruptly, suggesting she might have entered a vehicle. As dawn broke the next morning, Sweden witnessed something unprecedented. Over 1,000 volunteers from surrounding communities poured into Hö, forming search parties that would comb every field, forest, and farm in the vicinity. The Swedish military joined the effort, bringing in specialized equipment and thermal imaging cameras. Local media outlets broadcast live updates, and Lisa's face appeared on every news channel across the country. But it wasn't just the size of the search that made this case extraordinary. It was the disturbing pattern of clues that investigators began uncovering. Witness statements started trickling in, painting a picture of suspicious activity around the cafe that Sunday evening. A red van had been spotted in the area multiple times in the weeks leading up to Lisa's disappearance. Several cafe customers reported seeing a man watching the establishment from across the street throughout that final weekend. Most crucially, forensic examination of the scooter revealed partial fingerprints that didn't belong to Lisa or her family members. And in the gravel near where the scooter was parked, investigators found something that made their blood run cold. A single pearl earring, which Lisa's sister identified as part of a pair their grandmother had given Lisa for her 16th birthday. The matching earring was still in Lisa's jewelry box at home. The evidence suggested this wasn't a random act. Someone had been watching, waiting, and planning. As investigators dug deeper into the case, they began to realize they weren't dealing with a typical missing persons case. They were hunting a predator who had chosen their victim with chilling precision. The investigation took a dark turn when digital forensics experts began analyzing Lisa's phone records. Though her device was switched off shortly after that final mysterious call, cell tower data revealed something crucial. In those final moments, her phone had pinged off a tower in an unexpected location, suggesting she'd traveled in the opposite direction from her usual route home. Local residents began coming forward with previously unreported observations. A farmer mentioned hearing a muffled scream around 6:30 p.m. that Sunday evening, but had dismissed it at the time. Another witness reported seeing a red van speeding down a rarely used dirt road shortly after Lisa's estimated disappearance time. These fragments of information began forming a disturbing mosaic. The breakthrough came from an unlikely source, a traffic camera on the outskirts of town. Though positioned far from the cafe, it had captured a glimpse of a red van matching witnesses' descriptions. The vehicle's license plate was partially visible, enough for investigators to narrow down their search. The van was registered to two brothers, Nerijus and Tautvydas Astravas, Lithuanian nationals who worked as farmhands in the area. The brothers lived on a remote property about 8 kilometers from the cafe. When police arrived to question them, they found only Tautvydas, who claimed his brother Nerijus had suddenly returned to Lithuania the day after Lisa's disappearance. His story was filled with inconsistencies, and his nervous behavior set off immediate red flags for the experienced investigators. A search warrant was quickly obtained. As forensics teams combed through the brothers' residence, they discovered something that stopped them in their tracks. Hidden in a workshop behind the house was Lisa's phone, carefully disassembled. But that wasn't all. In the barn, they found traces of blood that would later match Lisa's DNA. The investigation revealed a horrifying truth. The brothers had been watching Lisa for weeks, learning her schedule, noting when she was alone. That Sunday evening, they had finally acted on their sinister plan. The accidental phone call to Lisa's father had captured the moment of her abduction. The sound of the car door wasn't from her scooter, but from their van. Tautvydas eventually broke under interrogation. His confession revealed details so shocking that many veteran investigators had to step away. The brothers had targeted Lisa specifically because of her routine and vulnerability. They had planned everything meticulously from the timing of their attack to the disposal of evidence. The searches intensified, now focused on specific areas based on Taut Vidas's confession. Over 1,000 volunteers, many who had never met Lisa, continued combing through dense forests and abandoned buildings. The Swedish media covered every development, and the nation held its breath, hoping against hope for Lisa's safe return. But on June 12, 2015, 5 days after her disappearance, search teams made the discovery they had been dreading. In an old barn hidden beneath hay bales and farming equipment, they found Lisa's body. The peaceful town of Hö would never be the same. The discovery of Lisa's body sent shockwaves through Sweden. The medical examiner's findings were kept largely private out of respect for the family, but leaked details suggested a level of brutality that haunted even seasoned investigators. The cause of death was determined to be asphyxiation, but evidence indicated Lisa had fought fiercely for her life, leaving crucial DNA evidence under her fingernails that would prove vital in the prosecution. Nerijus Astravas was arrested in Lithuania through international cooperation between Swedish and Lithuanian authorities. The extradition process moved swiftly, driven by public pressure and diplomatic urgency. Meanwhile, his brother Tautvidas remained in Swedish custody, his confession becoming more detailed and disturbing with each interview. The trial began in autumn 2015, drawing unprecedented media attention. The courthouse in Skaraborg was surrounded daily by crowds holding candles and photos of Lisa. Inside, the prosecution built an airtight case. They presented surveillance footage showing the brothers' van circling the cafe in the weeks before the murder. Cell phone data placed both men at key locations. Forensic evidence was overwhelming. Lisa's DNA in their van, workshop, and barn, along with fiber evidence linking them directly to the crime. The brothers' defense crumbled quickly. While Tautvidas tried to place most of the blame on his brother, Nerijus maintained his innocence despite the mountain of evidence. The jury wasn't convinced by either strategy. After a 3-week trial, both brothers were found guilty. Nerijus received life imprisonment, while Tautvidas, due to his cooperation, was sentenced to 14 years. But the case's impact reached far beyond the courtroom. Sweden was forced to confront uncomfortable questions about rural safety and the monitoring of foreign workers. The cafe where Lisa worked became a memorial site, with visitors leaving flowers and notes year-round. Her parents, showing remarkable strength, established the Lisa Holm Foundation, dedicated to improving safety measures for young workers and supporting families of violent crime victims. The investigation brought about significant changes in Swedish law enforcement protocols. The success of the volunteer search efforts led to the establishment of a new national missing persons response system, integrating civilian volunteers with professional search teams. The case also highlighted the importance of international police cooperation, leading to improved protocols for cross-border investigations. Lisa's scooter, the silent witness to that fateful evening, was eventually returned to her family. They donated it to the local police museum, where it serves as a somber reminder of how quickly ordinary days can turn tragic. The helmet and keys remain exactly as they were found, preserved behind glass, telling their own silent story. In Hö, June 7th is now marked by an annual memorial walk, following the route Lisa would have taken home. Thousands participate each year, carrying lights in the darkness, remembering a young woman whose dreams of architecture in Australia were brutally cut short. Perhaps the most lasting legacy of the case was its effect on the tight-knit community of Hö. The town's residents, once known for leaving their doors unlocked and children free to roam, found their sense of security forever altered. Yet, paradoxically, the tragedy brought them closer together. Neighbors began looking out for each other more, creating community watch programs and support networks. Lisa's room in her family home remains largely unchanged, Her architecture drawings still hang on the walls, dreams frozen in time. Her sister, who has since become an advocate for victims' rights, often speaks at schools about personal safety, turning her family's tragedy into a mission to protect others. The case of Lisa Holm serves as a haunting reminder that evil can lurk in the most peaceful places, but also as a testament to how communities can unite in the face of tragedy. Her story continues to be taught in Swedish police academies as an example of both the darkness humanity is capable of and the remarkable results achievable when law enforcement and communities work together. The investigation revealed disturbing details about the brothers' backgrounds that had been overlooked during their employment screening. Both had previous minor offenses in Lithuania, but these records hadn't been properly shared across borders. Neregis, in particular, had a history of stalking allegations that had never resulted in formal charges. This revelation led to stricter background check requirements for foreign workers throughout Sweden. In prison, Neregus's behavior became increasingly erratic. He made several attempts to recant his brother's testimony, sending letters to Swedish media outlets claiming elaborate conspiracy theories. Prison psychologists diagnosed him with antisocial personality disorder, noting his complete lack of remorse and tendency to manipulate. Taut Vidas, meanwhile, showed signs of severe psychological trauma, regularly requesting isolation and suffering from apparent guilt-induced nightmares. The forensic investigation of the crime scene yielded more than initially reported. Investigators found a hidden camera in the brothers' workshop, containing deleted footage of the cafe and other locations where young women worked. This suggested Lisa might not have been their first intended victim. Swedish police quietly reopened several unsolved missing persons cases from the region, though no direct connections were ever proven. Lisa's parents, Maria and Rickard Holm, faced another battle after the trial, fighting against true crime podcasters and writers who attempted to sensationalize their daughter's story. They successfully lobbied for Swedish privacy laws to be strengthened, giving victims' families more control over how their loved ones' stories are told in media. The Lisa Holm Foundation grew beyond its initial scope. By 2020, it had established a scholarship program for young women pursuing careers in architecture, honoring Lisa's dream. The foundation also created a comprehensive safety protocol for businesses employing teenage workers, including mandatory security cameras, panic buttons, and buddy systems for closing shifts. These Lisa's laws were adopted by thousands of businesses across Scandinavia. The cafe where Lisa worked struggled with its tragic connection to the case. After briefly closing, it reopened with a complete renovation and new ownership. The new owners transformed part of the building into a youth center, offering free self-defense classes and safety workshops. The spot where Lisa's scooter was found now features a small memorial garden, maintained by local schoolchildren. The investigation team faced their own challenges. Several officers required counseling after working the case, particularly those who processed the crime scene. The lead investigator, Detective Anna Lindstrom, later wrote a controversial internal report highlighting the psychological impact of such cases on law enforcement personnel. This led to mandatory mental health support programs for Swedish police working on violent crimes. Technology played a crucial role in the case's resolution. Beyond the traffic cameras and cell phone data, investigators used advanced DNA analysis techniques that weren't publicly disclosed at the time. These methods have since become standard procedure in Swedish forensic labs, with several cold cases being solved using the same technology. The brothers' van, a key piece of evidence, revealed additional horrors during detailed forensic examination. Hidden compartments contained items suggesting the murder wasn't entirely unplanned: zip ties, duct tape, and a written list of young female workers' schedules from various businesses in the area. This discovery prompted a nationwide audit of workplace safety measures for young employees. Lisa's sister, Emma, found an unexpected way to honor her memory. Using Lisa's architectural drawings as inspiration, she collaborated with a Swedish design firm to create a series of safety-focused public spaces. These Lisa Parks feature innovative lighting systems, emergency call points, and open designs that prioritize visibility and security while maintaining aesthetic beauty. The case also exposed flaws in Sweden's emergency response system. The initial hours after Lisa's disappearance were crucial, but rural police resources were limited. This led to the development of the Golden Hour Protocol, a rapid response system for missing persons cases that coordinates law enforcement, volunteers, and media resources within the first hour of a report. In a tragic coincidence, another young worker disappeared from a different Swedish town 2 years after Lisa's murder. Thanks to the systems and protocols established following her case, the victim was found alive within hours, and her attempted abductor was caught. The surviving victim later stated that knowing Lisa's story had made her more vigilant and likely saved her life. Today, criminal justice students across Scandinavia study the Lisa Holm case, not just for its investigative aspects, but for its profound impact on society, law enforcement, and workplace safety. Her story has become more than a tragic true crime case. It's a catalyst for change that continues to protect young workers and influence public safety policies. The behavioral analysis of the Astravas brothers revealed a disturbing pattern that predated Lisa's murder. During the investigation, police discovered journals in their workshop written in Lithuanian. When translated, they contained detailed observations of not just Lisa, but 7 other young women in the area. Each entry meticulously documented work schedules, routines, and vulnerabilities. This discovery prompted a controversial debate about surveillance methods for convicted stalkers across Europe. The digital forensics team made another chilling discovery while analyzing the brothers' computers. They had researched numerous missing persons cases across Europe, particularly studying ones that remained unsolved. Their browser histories showed repeated visits to true crime forums where they had participated in discussions about perfect crimes. This digital footprint led to changes in how Swedish authorities monitor online behavior of persons of interest. Lisa's last day held more significance than initially reported. Her co-worker, Maria Bergstrom, later revealed that Lisa had seemed distracted during her shift, mentioning that she felt like someone was watching her. She had even taken photos of the red van on her phone weeks before, sensing something wasn't right. These photos, recovered from her cloud storage, became crucial evidence but also raised questions about why her concerns weren't taken more seriously. The courtroom drama took an unexpected turn when Narigis attempted to implicate local farming community members in the crime. His elaborate conspiracy theory suggested a human trafficking ring was operating in the area. While these claims were proven false, they led investigators to uncover an unrelated labor exploitation scheme on nearby farms, resulting in multiple arrests. In prison, Tautvidas began creating detailed drawings of the crime scene and events, which his psychiatrist described as a form of confession through art. These drawings, now sealed in police archives, were described by one investigator as windows into a disturbed mind. They proved valuable in understanding the psychological profiles of cooperative criminals and are now used in police training. The case sparked a unique phenomenon in Swedish criminal psychology studies. Dubbed the Lisa effect, researchers noted how communities affected by similar crimes began implementing preventive measures before being officially advised to do so. This proactive response became a model for community-based crime prevention across Scandinavia. Lisa's mother, Maria Holm, discovered her daughter's private blog during the investigation. The blog, written in English to practice for her planned move to Australia, contained haunting entries about her dreams and fears. The last entry, written the morning of her disappearance, talked about her excitement for architecture school applications. This blog became the foundation for a book Maria wrote about teenage aspirations and safety, now required reading in Swedish high schools. The investigation had another unexpected outcome in the world of forensic science. The technique used to extract DNA from Lisa's fingernails led to the development of a new method for collecting genetic evidence in similar cases. The Holm protocol, as it's now known in forensic circles, has helped solve several cold cases across Europe. The brothers' employer, a local farming consortium, faced intense scrutiny after the murder. Investigation revealed they had failed to conduct proper background checks, instead relying on an informal network of recommendations. This led to the creation of the European Agricultural Workers Database, EAWD, a system for tracking and verifying agricultural workers' backgrounds across EU borders. In 2020, a documentary filmmaker discovered that Nerijus had attempted to make contact with true crime authors from prison, offering to tell the real story in exchange for payment. This led to new Swedish laws preventing convicted murderers from profiting from their crimes through media deals. The cafe where Lisa worked underwent another transformation in recent years. Current owner Maja Lindström, herself a survivor of attempted abduction, transformed it into a dual-purpose space. While still operating as a cafe, it now houses the Center for Young Worker Safety, CYWS, offering free safety training and self-defense classes. The center's walls feature Lisa's architectural drawings, preserved behind glass. Lisa's scooter became the subject of an art installation at Stockholm's Modern Museum. Artist Clara Sjöberg created a powerful piece titled Keys Left Behind, incorporating the actual keys from Lisa's scooter into a larger work about female vulnerability and strength. The exhibition traveled internationally, spreading awareness about workplace safety for young women. The investigation team faced an unexpected challenge years later when they discovered that Nerijus had been corresponding with true crime enthusiasts online through an elaborate system involving other inmates. This led to a complete overhaul of prison communication monitoring systems across Sweden. Perhaps most poignantly, Lisa's architectural dreams found an unexpected legacy. Her preliminary designs for sustainable housing, found in her school notebooks, caught the attention of a prominent Swedish architect. These concepts were incorporated into a youth center in Stockholm, named Lisa's Vision, which provides safe spaces for young people to pursue their creative dreams. The case continues to evolve in surprising ways. Recent advances in DNA technology have allowed investigators to extract more information from preserved evidence, leading to new insights about the brothers' movements on the day of the murder. These findings are now part of an ongoing study at the Swedish National Forensic Center, potentially helping to solve other cold cases.